It's no big deal. I said I mess around and do that almost at least once a week now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
y'all had rain up there. Y'all had rain up there last week, huh?
Yeah, for the most part, it wasn't. It like we had hard rain a couple of days, and then other days it probably do a little sprinkling and stop.
Tweety is still on the game.
Yeah, I'm still on the game. We can do the pot. Come on, bro. Like you come on, we can do it, bro. It's to me like you talk about a different format. This natural too.
No,
like,
that ain't no different.
Come on, bro. Let's do the show. You act like I can't do the show. Let's do the show.
It's already recording, Tweety. I didn't pay $7 a month for you to play video game while we record. Your opinions already be bad.
$7 a month, and I'm paying it to where I can't play the video game and record. So what's up?
Your opinions already be bad, Tweety.
No, it don't.
Oh, I made it different.
That's your opinion. Like that don't matter. That's your opinion. Like that's because you say that don't mean it's fact.
My opinion is 99.9%
oh,
likely true.
That right there is a 99.9% lie. Like you can't do that.
That's a big ball.
It's a big bowl. We just speaking on history. On history. Anyway, I'm trying to introduce this thing.
Let's get
it Sports Crew. Where we talk about sports. Sometimes we get outside of sports. Who knows? We might talk about Tekashi 6ix9ine today. You never know. Anyway,
that's your boy. That's your boy right there.
Hold on, time out. Don't ever say Tekashi 6ix9ine is my boy. I don't listen. I mean, I won't say I don't listen to his music, because some of his stuff be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like the energy, sometimes you need that energy. The energy he put in his music, but I'm not going out like searching for no 6ix9ine song. I do think he funny though. He funny.
So he entertaining, huh?
He's an entertainer for sure.
Yeah, he entertaining. Cause he kicking him in the nuts hard right now. He kicking him in the nuts. Ooh. They tried to say he was over. He kicking him in the nuts hard right now.
Is he now? Like I don't really listen to his music.
He got #1 song.
Do it.
Yeah. But no, he said he don't get no radio play, no none of that. I don't really know, but because I don't listen to the radio. Yeah. But yeah, he got #1 song on house arrest. And they say he told. which by the way, is one of the most overrated things in the world, no snitching. It's overrated. I mean, I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't snitch, but what I'm saying is, Greg, you're in that field. You're not a district attorney or a police officer. But if you watch First 48, that's enough proof to you people always telling. Right. Oh, well, you know, they think because their face get blurred out, they don't make them a snitch. No, you still telling. You still telling.
You can't pick up the identity of the snitch, but you're right. They are still snitching.
Tweety, what's happening, man? What's going on with you? Greg? Go ahead, Greg.
They all on the paperwork, huh? So y'all on that man paper.
5K1 everywhere. Brother Jones said in caps. Tweety, what's happening, man? What's going on with you?
Oh man, nothing. Honestly, I'm hoping we can actually have a season this year, man. I'm ready to get back on the field, but it's looking real iffy right now.
Who are we? You're talking about high school or youth football?
Both, really both, but mostly high school. Like, cause honestly, I think down here they're gonna base the youth stuff based on high school. So if the high school end up not playing, they most likely not gonna let youth football.
You think so?
Yep.
I mean, you think they really? The only reason I asked you think that they basing it off, and I don't know about Texas.
And the reason why I say that is because a lot of these teams down here are actually using high school stadiums and high school facilities. And if they gonna shut their stuff down, they sure not gonna let you use. Like it, and honestly, they don't. And if the only reason why they would even let us use them, because honestly, a lot of them are starting to deny a lot of little league programs and leagues access to their fields because of maintenance and cleanup or whatever. And they really kind of take a chance on something happening in their facility that they have no control over.
I was just about to say liability. It's liability.
And it's like if they don't, I guess you could say if they don't really have a reason to open it up for they stuff, they probably not gonna bend over backwards to open it up for a little league either.
So you saying Little League ain't got their business right?
No, for the most part, if you're talking about like independent, and when I say independent, I mean leagues that ain't ran by the city, like they are the biggest problem. Like you have a DeSoto league, you have a Mesquite league, you have a Urban league, and they usually don't be problems. Like those usually the ones that the city is paying for, so the city really kind of controls. But you also have leagues like Pop Warner, the league that my team was in last year called Texas Select. They are independent leagues, which is somebody's really singularly over that league and kind of go by their own rules. And that's where a lot of teams, I guess you could say a lot of teams operate in independent leagues because they don't like to go by city rules.
Well, I know that.
Go ahead.
When I was talking about they don't have their business right, when Greg brought up the liability thing, I was talking about like a lot of times when you rent out a facility from a school district or however they independent school, because you might rent it from a private school or something like that. A lot of times they have forms that you got to fill out, and part of that maybe you got to clean up, or we reserve the right to not rent to you in the future if you don't.
Right, and I think you're talking about basic stuff, and I hate to say it like that because for some reason at these youth games here lately, it's been on the extreme side of things happening, and it's like I'm talking about like shootings and fights and stuff like that, and it's like it's not worth it to a lot of these programs to open up their facilities and stuff like that.
Tweety got deep. Tweety. Yeah, that's interesting because you was talking about the school facilities, because I've seen it that hadn't really affected it hasn't really affected youth basketball as much. Right. Because I think obviously different states are on different levels of like whether they open or not, what I'm saying, in high school facilities. But a lot of these like tournament directors and stuff like that, they still having basketball tournaments, and they're finding like private facilities. Right. Or facilities that are not operated by school districts.
There you go.
To have the things.
AAU ball.
Yeah, I mean it ain't even necessarily just AAU.
Any kind of basketball is going on right now. I'm with him on that.
Yeah, it's a lot because like Greg, a lot of kind of like the established groups are not necessarily doing something. Like you have like the EYBL. I don't think they're doing nothing. Even though they use a lot of private facilities, I don't think they have anything going on. I'm not 100% certain. But like you could go, it's just like tournament directors, period. Like a lot of them are not really associated with any kind like AAU or I don't know whatever else they got out there. It's just a man or a woman or a group.
Right. They don't have
just running tournaments.
Right.
Yeah, they're just running tournaments, and you'd be surprised. I bet they're making a killing. Some of them have fans. Some of them don't. I mean, like right now, some of them allowing fans in there. Some of them not. It's crazy because
down here, they allow everything down here.
I belong to
fans in Dallas to go to the games.
What? I'm talking, yes, bro, like big time. Like I went to matter of fact, I went to one of my little cousin basketball games like a week or so ago, and I'm talking about gym packed.
Everybody
ago.
Huh?
Everybody had masks on or what?
A lot of people did, but most of them, like I ain't gonna say a lot. I'm gonna say the majority no. Like the majority no. You had a couple of families in there with masks on, but for the most part, nah.
They want spaced out. I like spread out in the bleachers, or just regular like a regular game.
Like it wasn't nothing going on. It wasn't no pandemic. Like just open the gym, kids out there playing basketball. You got the regular kids that ain't playing on the sideline, running up and down, and it looked like a regular weekend, like a regular basketball weekend.
Well, I honestly think people don't. I honestly think like when it comes to like youth sports, I think a lot of people just. I mean, you already got people out there, regardless of whether they play or their kids are in the sports or not, that don't care about the pandemic. They ain't wearing no masks regardless.
Right.
I just went to 2 stores and I was the only one in both of those stores that had a mask on, and I probably passed like 10, 15 people. You got a lot of people that's involved
It's big time.
All
I'm
the youth
like,
sports. I think like you have like tournament directors that care. But I think a lot of parents don't care. One, like tournament directors, you gotta look at it from this perspective, right? I'm not gonna say they're not interested in the safety of the families and the participants and all of that, but they're no different than that brewery that's on the corner or wherever. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
The brewery don't run
Or the
nobody.
grocery
Huh? Oh yeah, or the grocery store, right? Those people, that's how they make their living. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So they're gonna do everything that they can to get the tournaments going and make their living. And then you got, bro, y'all be surprised. Tweet, you probably know, you got a lot of parents out here
Oh,
that think that they kids
still
gotta be
yeah.
playing youth basketball or youth football right now in order to get a scholarship. You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't even realize that like the NCAA keep extending this daggone dead period.
right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
And
well, I
it's
guess you can still talk to players. Let me take a
game.
lot back. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like these tournaments, I mean, they're not going to tournaments because they can't.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like I saw something in this one group that I belong to. I saw something where like this dude had posted something about like it was a tournament somewhere in Kansas, I think. Somebody that was at the tournament tested positive for COVID. And he was just posting it, and it just showed like, hey, if you went to this event, you need to do blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Somebody in that group got mad and told that person to take it down. They were like, you got to take this down. You're going to get other tournaments canceled.
Wow.
People going to stop it like, so I mean, parents, a lot of parents ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Look, I mean, Edge, it's to the point to where it's a group I'm in, and I'm talking about just really like high school and youth. It's a group of men. It's called DFW Youth and High School Sports, where it's like, man, they fight tooth and nail with each other, and you got people on both sides. So I'm saying we shouldn't be worried about if youth sports happen or not. We should be worried about the safety of kids and stuff like that. Versus, you got people saying, man, whatever, it's my kid. If I'm cool with the risk, let me do my thing. Don't be trying to tell me what to do with my kid. And it's like, you can't really argue that point either, because that is they right. Like that's they child. But
I mean, that's the side I'm on.
Well, I mean, what makes it just that much more difficult though is the, being asymptomatic and passing on somebody who can't, what I'm saying, deal with it.
Right.
Like somebody that's, of a better health or a stronger immune system.
I mean,
I don't know.
And like you say, that's still a factor even with these kids. But I'm like, I don't think I'm like AJ. I don't think so. A lot of these parents just don't care. And
So
as far as this aspect, he is 1,000% right when you talk about parents who, I'm talking about 8-year-old parents of 8-year-olds who think that if they miss this one season,
right,
it's gonna jeopardize the rest of their athletic life. I'm like, come on, man. There's people who don't start playing sports until they hit high school, and they go, it's irrational.
Don't worry about them rankings, man. Them rankings. They gotta get them rankings.
Well, let me ask you this, because right, they're all trying to look forward and trying to get to the pros. So we look at the pros with the season getting ready to come back, them starting and returning. Right. What about in situations where players test positive for COVID? Because they're not handling it like, those peewees, those youth, those high school, those whatever leagues that we were just talking about. They're gonna shut it down, right? That's how they've been handling it. So if a player tests positive for COVID, you're looking at that player at the very least, or the very minimum, that particular player having to quarantine for 14 days at minimum, and presumably the team, right? Like, so what does that look like? What do y'all think about that? As far as
at the youth level?
At the youth level or the pro level?
With the pros.
Okay. I think once they start, they're going to do everything in their power to not stop. So even if somebody tests positive for COVID, let's take the NBA, for example. I don't know if they're going to actually send them home. I don't think that's actually going to be a good plan. I think they will quarantine that player, but I think they're going to do everything in their power to not stop this league again once they get it back going. They're going to do everything they can not to stop it. So I don't see the NBA stopping again. If they start back, I don't see them stopping.
you hear all the stories about the false negatives and you know how that what I'm saying, sometimes it's not a good way to determine if somebody has COVID. And so say they okay, one player tests positive, right? They quarantine him, everybody else is negative. You know what I'm saying? So you're saying that they just continue to play because right now, professionally, I'm just talking about, my line of work, the building I'm in, you know what I'm saying? If somebody tests positive for COVID on my floor, my suite where I'm at, like they're gonna shut the whole floor down. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna quarantine and disinfect the whole dang on floor. Like we ain't gonna be able to have access to
It
it.
was
So what you're saying is in the NBA, they're not going to do that, right? There's just one player. He will quarantine, but the season will go on with the guys that are testing negative on the team.
I think so. I mean, I think honestly, I think it depends on like the team schedule and kind of like where they at. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a team in the women's soccer league where they had a player. Hold on, y'all got to pause this real quick. We're gonna take a commercial break real quick.
Start with your conversation with the.
All right, we back. Did y'all get the commercial? You probably didn't because ain't nobody paying us for no commercials.
Man. Nah, but what I was saying, LJ, like, was talking about, with the pros.
It's a team in the National Women's Soccer League out of Orlando. They had a player test positive, and I don't know if I think they got something like a tournament or something, and they just withdrew the entire organization from the tournament.
Really?
Because of that one person testing positive. I don't think the NBA gonna do that.
I'm just gonna ask you: do you think the NBA gonna actually do that to it? Not to. I think they'll do it to a team that's just in that little 8-game bubble, like the ones that ain't gonna make the playoffs. But you think they'll do it to an 8?
Everybody that's in the bubble has a chance to legitimately make the playoffs.
That's true. That's true.
Every game counts. You know what I'm saying? Like they're talking about LA and the Lakers and the Clippers play the first game of the season, right? As soon as they come back. Then I was reading, they were talking about Memphis and New Orleans. New Orleans on the looking in. New Orleans got the easiest schedule out of anybody at the remaining 8 games. Grizzlies got the 4th hardest schedule.
Hey,
like, these games matter.
You don't think they want Zion in the playoffs?
That's what I'm finna say. That go back to that. I think we had a conversation about that on a past episode about how the NBA might want to see them in the playoffs and might put them in. I think it might have been Malcolm that said that they'll make them put them against LeBron and stuff like that to get them on TV early. But I'm like, nah. My whole theory was, I think they're gonna make, if they really want them in the playoffs, he gonna have an easy schedule, like LJ just said. They want him in the playoffs.
They ain't getting out that first round though.
You say he what?
They ain't getting out the first round.
You don't think so?
He gonna get some nice dunks, and then he'll get exposed a little bit. I mean, I ain't even capping. He gonna get exposed, not because he's a bad player, but you know how it is. Like, when you get to the playoffs,
everybody's on you.
That one team got all your energy for, at a minimum, 4 games.
Right,
but, up to 7 games, they got all your energy. So, like, that scouting report ain't no just generic, hey, they run this play here. It's like you zoned in. And I think he's gonna get exposed a little bit. Like I said, not necessarily make like he a sorry player, nothing like that. But the limitations that he has as a basketball player, I think you'll see exposed in the playoffs, because historically the playoffs is a lot slower game. You play a lot more half-court basketball, which obviously that is not his strength at this point in his career. Is just being able to isolate in the half-court game. He might get double.
I wouldn't expect him to like take them to the Western Conference Finals anyway, but I disagree.
You got that.
I think if he gets to the playoffs, based upon what
he got the timing pole going.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you can't use a hanger to strengthen your Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, I'm trying to have the Teddy Riley going.
Yeah, boy, he got that Wi-Fi box you got to hit on. Let me get this, man.
No, but I was saying, man, I think Zion will do okay in the playoffs. Just on the mere fact that he was looking good when they were last playing. Tweety, you were talking about the schedule, and Malcolm was bringing it up earlier about them having the easiest schedule, and I read that they decided to do that purposely because in actuality they had one of the easiest schedules remaining when the season ended. You know what I'm saying? So actually, it was kind of fair that they set it up that way. But I think, and a lot of people have described it this way, kind of like a glorified summer league. You know what I'm saying? This is not typical.
Think so?
Season. I mean, this
summer league.
This is going to be, to me, very similar to, you know what I'm saying, although it's not the NCAA tournament, but you got that constant game every night. You're in a neutral site. You know what I'm saying? You're in a neutral site every game pretty much. You're neutral, with the exception of Orlando. And I mean, shit, whatever. But I'm saying, like they had a long layoff. He was playing well. You don't have a lot of film on him. You know what I'm saying? As far as to say date back to last season, I think like he's more of a mystery than say a Ben Simmons, right? Like Ben Simmons, like you've seen him play for a while, and it's kind of like say like the Raptors and the Bucks. They've had series against them. They know him, right? Like he has to have a big jump in the game in order to make a difference in the playoffs. Whereas Zion, man, Zion was hitting 3-pointers, bro.
Oh, don't do that, Greg. Don't do that. Come on. He had one game where he hit a few threes. You like he Larry Bird.
I literally was.
He Larry Legend. Come on, Greg.
I was not expecting a lot from Zion Williamson, but he was playing really well. Everybody has a lot of rest if they're healthy. I mean, if Lonzo can play good, if BI can play well, I mean, why not? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying that Zion can't ball and that he don't have a good playoff. I'm just saying, like, if you gonna knock down some threes, I seen Shaq hit a 3. I seen the video. No, time out. Speaking of which, if you go back to last summer before the NBA season started,
defensive plays.
I'm listening.
He was very aggressive on the offensive rebound tip. You can't take that from that young man.
I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking him at all. I'm trying to look up his stats. So he was averaging 23. I don't say how many rebounds.
I'm not a stat and an analytical MIT type person. But go ahead.
Zion Williamson can't shoot.
Huh?
He can't shoot. He cannot shoot. He is not a reliable 3-point shooter.
If you ask him to shoot the ball, you ask him to lose.
But here's the thing. Nobody's defense so far, especially like in the last 10 to 15 games we played, nobody's defense really dictated and forced him into having to shoot bad shots. His efficiency was very high.
But that's what I'm trying. That's what he was shooting about 58%. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm saying. Like playoffs is different than the regular season. You're not playing 10 different teams in a span of 3 weeks or a month. Like in that month's time, you're gonna play 2 teams, 3 teams at most. I mean, now I'm not talking about those first 8 games. I'm talking about if they actually make it to the
playoff series, right?
Yeah, if they actually make it to the playoffs.
And I'm not saying, I think for them to even get to the playoffs, even with this season and how it's transpiring, how it's coming about with the virus and all, I think that'd be an accomplishment for them as an organization and as a team. And
Memphis ain't making the playoffs. That's for sure.
I don't even expect them really to get
the playoffs, man.
What now?
Memphis ain't making the playoffs.
Aren't they the AC right now?
Yeah, they ain't gonna make the playoffs.
Oh, okay. So they ain't gonna hold on to it, huh?
Nah, I don't think they are. Let me ask y'all something. So y'all think if you win the championship this season, somebody gonna win it.
Right.
Do y'all think it's like one of those asterisk seasons where,
I
like
hate
the
that
Spurs
question.
won their first championship?
I hate that question, bro. But I'm gonna let Greg answer it.
Well, I was gonna say I was talking to a friend of mine earlier in the week. We was having this conversation, man, and of course, everybody looks back to the lockout year, and with the lockout season, was a shortened season, and it was it was rushed, but you didn't have so many obstacles, right? As far as having to play in one particular place and guys taking off for certain reasons, like Trevor Ariza, I think I heard is not returning to the Blazers, and the reason being is because he shares custody of his child with the mother, and ordinarily during that time of the year in July, he will be with his kid. So he's choosing to be with his kid. Now they don't have as good a chance as everybody else, as the top teams to make the finals and win a championship. But that's something that was not occurring during the lockout season, right? So, as much as I hate asterisks, I think it's going to have one, man.
What you think?
I mean, it's gonna have one, but the reason why I say I hate that question is because you can kind of put an asterisk on anybody's season, bro. Like, because unforeseen circumstances happen every year, and they are always unique. And don't get me wrong, this is very unique as far as like
that kumbaya answer. Love all. Tweet it. That's the basketball version of all lives matter.
I mean, let's just take last year for example.
I'm gonna say you put an asterisk on the Raptors.
Listen to what I'm saying though. A lot of people will say if Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson don't get hurt, Golden State win. Am I lying? Am I lying?
Yeah.
It happened. And my thing is this, bro, you can't put an asterisk on nobody's season because at this point, it happened to everybody. It ain't like this only happened to the Lakers or this only happened to the Clippers. This happened to the whole league. Like, everybody got to deal with the same circumstances, bro. Ain't nobody on no different playing field than nobody else. So, yeah, bro, I mean, it's going to have one just because of what the uniqueness of having to stop a season.
You said all lives matter.
You can do that,
you don't make
so we look at when Cleveland won. It was in 15 when they came back 3-1. You put an asterisk on that.
I don't put an asterisk on nothing. You missing? I don't put an asterisk on nothing. I feel like once you win, you win. But
so you saying you say if you want to put an asterisk on something, you could put an asterisk on everything. But I'm just everything where you can put an asterisk on that.
Huh?
Well, you could if you wanted to say that Draymond Green was erroneously suspended.
People say that too.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
I mean, I ain't saying that, but I'm just saying.
Like, I personally,
that kind of.
I feel like I'm like Draymond Green came back and played other games too. Like, my thing is this: I don't put an asterisk on nobody's championship. I think once you won it, you won it. That's your championship.
Why you just say that?
Bro, I mean, I'm not. If I could say that, then that'd be my point of being 3 seconds, and it wouldn't even be no need for me to even answer the question.
I don't want to know it. We want to know what you think, Call of Duty King.
And I'm not playing Call of Duty, but
totally out of the ordinary, man. Them dudes got a 3-month break. They got a 3-month all-star break, not even an all-star break, a 3-month damn lockdown.
Okay, my thing, if you're gonna complain about it, then just don't have the rest of this season. Just go to the next season.
No, I'm not complaining about it. I'm not complaining because I don't even watch TV right now, right? Like, that's how much I miss basketball. You know what I'm saying?
I don't mean them boys to basketball coming free.
I want to play.
I guess my
pro sports
you have
is
8 games. You have 8 games to get ready for the postseason. You can't just full blast go into it. Somebody get hurt.
I don't know nothing about asterisks, man. I think you either win or you don't. I mean, I can see, like, if you said, like, hey, when you go into this season, like, the way that they do the playoffs or something like that gonna be different. Okay, you got to play, like, instead of winning, I think you normally got to win 16 games in order to win a championship. You got to win 16 games. Like, if they cut that down to 12 or if all of a sudden instead of having 16 teams, well, I guess this would kind of be the same thing. Well, no, if they cut it down from 16 teams in the playoffs to say only like 10 or something like that, then, and that didn't happen at the beginning of the season, like going into the season, then I can understand why people would say, I'm not necessarily going with the asterisk, but I can understand why somebody say, nah, that ain't quite legit.
Let me give you another example, right? Like every season, be it football, be it basketball, they go into the season and they strive to have the best record. Why do they want the best record going into the postseason? Why? Because they want home field. Home field, what do you call it? An advantage. You don't have that advantage no more. You know what I'm saying?
That's all in the mind.
I'm going to combat that one real quick.
I get you, LJ. You're saying that, like, hey, players, ballers ball, whether it's on the damn blacktop or whether it's in the Staples Center. I get that concept, but this is the way the league is set up. That's why a big reason.
Everybody like that.
I'm not so sure that in the NBA home court advantage really makes the biggest of difference, because I think the best team usually wins in a 7-game series. Like, and the reason why I say that is because if you want to take that San Antonio dynasty and to play, they didn't care about the best record. They didn't even care about having home court throughout the playoffs.
They always did.
You know, now you do have teams that are just more dominant, like the early 2000 Lakers. You know, the Bulls that usually come out of the season with home court advantage. But then you have you have Golden State, even like the last couple of years, they didn't care about having home court throughout the playoffs because they figured they gonna beat you in your gym and my gym. It don't matter where I play, you gonna beat you.
I agree. I think I agree with Greg more so. Like, I feel like that, like, teams play for home court advantage or home field advantage or whatever it's just for that comfort. Like, it's something special about running out in front of your home crowd. But I think, like, the biggest difference from my experience coaching and just watching, I think in football it's different, because football, the biggest difference between home and road, a lot of time it'd be the weather. That'd be like one of the hugest facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference between playing in Dallas in December and playing in Philly in December. It's a totally, you know what I'm saying? Dallas, you can close the dome. Philly, you're going to be outside. They probably going to be cold as hell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But in the NBA, I think the biggest difference that you see is generally is not from your star players, it's the bench players. Like, if you go back and look at the stats, bench players, for whatever reason, tend to play better at home than they do on the road. And I think that's why home court really, like, plays a big factor in it, because the players who don't, you know what I'm saying, not the Tim Duncans, the LeBron Jameses, the Kyries, the Steph Currys, they going to give you what they give you.
Right.
But it's that, you know what I'm saying, the Sean Livingstons of the world. Hell, I don't even know who else come off the bench. Who else come out? Well, Avery Bradley ain't playing. Lance Stevenson. Stuff like, these guys, neither one of them ain't even playing. But you get what I'm saying. Like, the dudes that come off the bench tend to play better at home. I don't know why. I've never figured it out. I mean, I got some ideas, but I think that's like the biggest difference to me. And I really
like say the Nuggets with the Joker and with Murray, you know, them guys they still in a part of their careers where they gonna give you a little bit better of a performance at the house in front of their fans as opposed to being on the road.
And I guess my point against both of y'all as far as the home court advantage thing in the NBA, unlike the NFL, in the playoffs, both teams get a chance to have home court advantage in the same series. Like, if I start out on the road and I win one, they say I just stole home court advantage. Like, if I'm the better team, 9 times out of 10, I'm ripping that away anyway. So whether I start out in your zone, and you're right, I might, but I just want to say I have a chance to do that. Whereas in football, you don't have that shot. Like, if you on the road, that's your shot. If you lose, you out. Whereas in the NBA, I can lose game 1 and 2 on the road. I can come home and flip the whole series. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think both teams have a fair shot at taking that home court. Whereas in football, I think it matters more because you only get that one game in the playoffs.
One shot, one kill.
I mean, y'all know what? Y'all gonna watch the NASCAR race today?
Most likely not.
NASCAR, man. We know you watch. We watch NASCAR through you, brother.
Man, the race about to come on in about 10 minutes. They
So
gonna
what y'all thought? Y'all thought that was the news?
oh, it was a news.
It was a news.
It wasn't really nothing to think about. It was a news.
It might not be the only news on the property, but it was definitely a news. Like it was a news.
Oh, it was a news. You know what? I saw something that said like NASCAR. They looked at like 11,000, almost 12,000 other ropes. So I guess that will be tied around like places that they have things. And the only one that was tied like that was in his stall.
Right.
Okay.
Hey,
because I mean,
I don't know, man.
I was looking at videos, like you say, old documents and stuff about how Talladega been having pull ropes in the garage, and I think I shared a video with you guys in the group with pull ropes. But you did notice, I don't know if I guess LJ noticed it too. It was a lot of differently tied ropes. Like some were just hanging, some had a little knot at the bottom.
I didn't watch that.
I didn't see Bubba Wallace's actual rope, so maybe
you didn't see the picture.
I seen the picture.
I put the picture in there.
Okay, I didn't know if that was he was rope. I seen that, but yeah, I did see that picture. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely a noose. Like
I ain't never seen no pull rope tied like that.
I would say that's definitely a noose.
Like it's a single rope with a little knot in it.
Right.
They just put it down. Like
might have
that's
a little
I've seen some nooses tied like that.
Yeah. Look,
never seen no pull.
The picture that LJ put in that group, ain't no way you can't. That's a noose, bro. Like that's
well, they said it. They said it was a noose, but I guess they were saying that like,
yeah,
it would have been impossible.
And we was listening to that, and talking about the exchange back and forth between Will Kane and Bomani Jones.
That was hilarious.
I like Bomani. I'm not I wouldn't say just a huge fan of Bomani, and I don't agree with everything he says. But I definitely agree with him in this aspect that NASCAR, I don't think they overreached or overreacted. They had to, address that. And like I said, we were posting that on Facebook, Bubba didn't report this, So this is not no Smollett type situation,
Right.
His team came forward and said that, but
it's crazy to me, man.
They needed to address that.
Why do black people always gotta as soon as something happens, they gotta tear down their own folks?
You right.
That was one thing that Bomani said on there when he was talking to Will Kane, and I might have heard it somewhere else too, and I never thought about it is he was saying that for whatever reason, he was talking about police in particular, but like black people, we tend to not get the benefit of the doubt. Like he can't they came out with a news thing, and I saw black people already posting, I hope this ain't no Jesse Smollett or whatever that dude name. I'm like,
yeah.
Why you gotta assume the man lying?
Yeah,
because he ain't even, like you said, Greg, he ain't even reported. Now,
I was going to say, you can't say the man lying if he ain't the one talking about it.
Yeah. Now, Jim Crow Wiley over here said that NASCAR overreacted. Go ahead on, Jim Crow Wiley.
I say that. See, there you
go. Tweet it backpedaling. He backpedaling. Come on, Jim Crow Wiley.
If you're going to say what I said, say exactly what I said.
Jim Crow Wiley. Oh, you're right. You said Bubba overreacted. My bad, Jim Crow Wiley. Go ahead.
LJ. I asked a question because you can go in the group right now and look. I asked the question. Do you think that Bubba should let his dude go because NASCAR discovered that it wasn't an exclusive news, or that they said that it wasn't a news?
That's what he said. Exclusive news.
I don't think he needs to let that man go. Just for the fact that we all just said, we all agree that it was the news.
Right.
And even when it came out,
I didn't say it wasn't the news, bro. I asked the question based on facts. That's all I did.
Based on what fact? It was news, sweetie.
NASCAR came out and tried to report that it wasn't news. The first report that they came out and said, they said it wasn't news.
Clearly established, sweetie. You seen the picture that LJ posted, right?
Put the question up way before LJ put that picture out, bro.
But my question is do you think that was news?
I said yes when we first brought this question. I just said yes. I asked a question.
Okay.
And LJ he looking hard in the mud.
Right.
All you gonna do
I'm
is find
looking
that
for it.
question.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Find the question, bro.
So
All you gonna do.
here's my thing. When it first came out, the FBI had reached their conclusion. I kind of was like, why are we trusting the FBI anyway? I mean,
I didn't say nothing,
you
bro.
know, I ain't trying to be
bro.
bad and be Donald Trump and them, you know what I'm saying? But the FBI kind of like, oh, I don't know, you know. That definitely was a news.
I didn't give not one personal opinion why he trying to call me Jim Crow. I didn't give not one.
Jim Crow Wiley. Hold on, Tweet. I'm trying to find it.
You gonna keep trying. You ain't gonna find it, bro. You gonna find that question?
Tweet, it said removed by. It said removed by Jim Crow.
How often do they race there? I don't keep up with NASCAR. Like,
it's once a year.
Talladega race is an annual thing.
Yeah, but they'll have like I think they had 2 races. I don't know if they had a truck series race. So like sometime like for example, they're racing at Pocono where they were supposed to race yesterday and today, but the truck series got rained out. And then they had the Xfinity series. They ended up racing. So this week at Pocono, they had 3 races, and a lot of times they'll have like 2 races. So like when they did one at Talladega, they had 2 races. So the Xfinity series race was the day before the Cup series. And that's how it's been. A lot of it being this year. They have like the Xfinity series the day before, and then the actual Cup series the day of.
Okay. Because I'm just wondering, like, has he ever been in that garage before? You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe not that particular stall, but at Talladega, yeah.
But I'm probably he probably ain't had that garage.
Tweet, I can't find. Tweet, you deleted it, bro.
Bro, I ain't deleted nothing. I don't got time to do that.
Probably not that particular one, but I'm looking at. I see a lot. I had the same question you had, but if it. And Tweet, I'm trying to find the one where I put 2 thumbs. Tweeted delete. Okay, here it is. This is what Tweety wrote. So since they came to the conclusion that the noose was a pull rope, should the person that made this claim lose his job?
Does that sound like a personal statement to you, Greg?
Yeah, who else wrote it? What do you mean? It said Jim Crow Wiley.
I don't think Tweety took a position on it. More so, he posed it as a question. I get it.
Okay, but what was your question there, Tweety? Maybe the question on.
Your question.
The reason why I based that question was I had seen a few videos where people was calling for the man because they was overreacting, talking about it was a lie. He should get fired. And that's why I posed the question: do you think the man that reported it should get fired?
Right, it wasn't no lie.
No, he shouldn't lose his job because now you pose the question. That's what I'm saying. You pose the question. Now I'm taking a position on it. My answer is no, and the reason why my answer is no is because we've just gone through, stated that all the other pull ropes never look like that. So if Bubba comes down there and Bubba sees that, like everybody else in the room. We're gonna be like, damn, they got nooses around here for me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Then it's a real problem. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sliding out of that with Jim Crow.
That ain't sliding, bro. I asked the question.
Tweety, I guess I don't understand the basis of the question. If it's a noose, why would he get fired? What's the basis of the question?
I just told you I had seen plenty of videos on YouTube that were saying that the man should be fired. That's why I posed the question.
Well, okay, well, I didn't watch the video. So explain what the videos were saying. Cause hold on, let me tell you how I'm hearing you saying that. To me, the way I'm reading this is that it wasn't a noose, so should somebody be fired? No. That's what I'm reading that you're saying.
I said since the FBI said. I didn't say since I said.
Nope, the FBI did not say it was not a noose. The FBI said it was not a hate crime. They didn't say it was a noose.
All right.
I'm just what I'm saying. Let me tell you. Okay, hold on. Let me tell you. This is how I'm reading it. When I read the question to me sounds like you're saying it wasn't a noose. So should whoever reported it be fired? Now, if you saying that's not the question,
but then, the problem is you saying that I'm saying that like it's my personal stance.
No, it don't matter. I'm reading what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. This is how I'm reading the question. I'm saying if that's not the question, then just clarify the question. To me, what you saying, what this question is asking is, it was reported as something that it was not. So should that person be fired? Guess what it's reading to me like? Are you saying that's not what you were saying?
That may be true,
So
but what I'm saying is that I was just going off of the information that was given at the time.
God damn, Tweety, you are not answering my question.
Let me make an analogy though. Let me make an analogy. It's kind of like,
I told you what the question is. I don't know how else to explain the question.
So hold on, is the question? Are you saying? Wait, just explain what the question is.
When the information that I had at the time, I used the question. I said, since the FBI said that it was a pull rope.
That is not what the FBI said, though, Tweety.
Well, damn, LJ, they said it ain't classified as a hate crime or a news that was specifically for him. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Okay, then we'll say that. That ain't, but okay.
Do I gotta really, bro? Use your common sense, my nigga.
That ain't no fucking common sense.
Yeah, it is common sense, bro.
So common sense is you saying that the FBI reported something that they didn't say.
No, the common sense is what I'm saying is the FBI saying it's not what people said it was.
No, because it was report. Okay, well, what did people say it was, Tweety?
A hate crime, pretty much.
Who said that?
It's a noose in his garage. I can't believe this. It's only him. They ain't doing this to nobody. Or Black Lives Matter.
Okay, but so now in that sentence, you didn't say nothing about a hate crime. I didn't hear you. Say it again.
You're right, bro. You're right. Okay.
You damn right, I'm right.
You're right, bro. You're right. You got
it. I guess my point is, Tweety, like I'm looking at it like this, right? This is how I'm looking at it. If you're gonna say something, at least let it be accurate. Okay, if you said should somebody be fired because they reported it as a hate crime, then one, that would be inaccurate because they didn't report it as a hate crime.
I didn't say that though.
It was reported as a news being installed.
So you saying the person
why was the story
in his garage?
Let me finish. Let me.
Hold on, you're saying that the person that's on his team, when they reported it and saw, they didn't report it and say that they felt this was a hate crime geared towards Bubba. That's not how they.
My knowledge, no. My understanding of it was reported as being a noose in his stall. And because of everything that has been going on in the country, they felt like they needed to take this seriously and report it to the authorities and let the authorities investigate it. It was a noose found in his garage. He may be the victim of a potential hate crime. Let's get it investigated. Not that it came out that, okay, Bubba Watt, not that it came out and they said that that it was a hate crime. Now, I may have been misunderstanding what they were saying. But that was my understanding is it was a news found in his stall, everything that was going on. Now, mind you, there was a flag flown over I think it was that race or it was the weekend before. I'm pretty sure it was that weekend with a Confederate flag saying defund NASCAR. That was the people driving around the track or near the track with all the Confederate flags on there before that particular race, right? And then you had the thing where Bubba had the Black Lives Matter stuff on his car. Not only that, shortly after the George Floyd thing happened, you also had Bubba coming out saying that NASCAR should ban Confederate flags from their events. Now, if you know anything about NASCAR, and I'm not saying that I'm the biggest NASCAR person ever, but I have actually been to a NASCAR race, not necessarily as a fan or a spectator, but I worked at an event. It's Confederate flags everywhere. Even if, I mean, now is not a good time to see that. But if you go back and watch old NASCAR events before the pandemic, excuse me, you see Confederate flags everywhere. Like there is, and it's at every event probably. Well, the ones that I've seen, it's at a lot of events, right?
Alabama to North Carolina.
Huh?
I say from Alabama to North Carolina to Florida, no matter where they at, huh?
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. It may not be as prevalent as some of the newer stadiums, but like the historical classic ones, yeah, you'll go see that. Like NASCAR runs up here, I think they do. you probably would see him up here. I don't know why, because Indiana fought in the Union, but whatever. But you'll probably see him up here. But my point is, like, with all this happening in the country during that particular time, and everything that surrounds NASCAR, as far as, I mean, I would bet if you go through all the pit crews in NASCAR, you probably ain't gonna find but a couple of people on pit crews that's black or even minorities. Hell, do NASCAR have a crew chief? Probably not. I mean, a black crew chief? I highly doubt it. Bubba Wallace is the only black NASCAR full-time NASCAR driver. I haven't seen anybody on the Xfinity.
Is it a part-time black NASCAR driver?
Say again?
Is it a part-time black NASCAR driver?
Now I can't say that for sure. I would say I haven't seen any. Now sometimes, like on the Cup Series, they have different drivers sometimes from week to week. Like some of the, on the Xfinity Series, like some of the big time drivers, some of the Xfinity Series is kind of like the minor league, if you will. But sometimes the Cup Series drivers will drive in the Xfinity Series. They don't do it all the time, but sometimes, you know, Joey Logano or whoever, they may drive down there. And I don't know about the Truck Series because I really don't watch that much. I watch it like briefly, but I really don't watch it that much. But I'm just saying, like, with everything that's going on, with the statements that he made, and understanding the climate behind NASCAR and their fan base, I should say. And also knowing that maybe like 5 years ago or something like that, NASCAR tried this exact same thing or something similar when it came to trying to ban Confederate flags and it didn't work.
Really?
It didn't work.
Huh.
It would be a logical conclusion if your only black driver had something fashioned like a noose in his garage to say, is somebody threatening him?
And I guess that's what I mean. The common sense goal. That's what I'm talking about. Like I say, because if it wasn't perceived as a thing of hate toward him, I don't think it would have blew up as a story. But I guess we was arguing two different things. I guess you was saying you was arguing that I pretty much worded the question wrong, like gave pretty much, and I get that. Okay, I might have misstated some stuff, but what I was telling you is I hadn't given my personal side on nothing. So you talking about Jim Crow this, like you can't say that because them not.
You gotta get off the fence, man.
I ain't know.
I'm getting up. Get your ass out. Get off the fence.
That's like saying,
listen, Greg, no cap. Every time Tweety say something, well, I didn't get my opinion. They're talking about what the people. Get off the fence.
I asked the question, bro.
Get out the fence.
I was asking the question on the fence. I thought giving the answer is on the fence.
Everything you defend, well, I ain't say that. It wasn't me. I'm just telling you what I heard. Get off the fence, Tweety.
If you're going to say I said it, make sure I said it, not ask the question.
That was your question. I said your question. That was your question.
So every question you ask, you agree to? Or do you ask questions to other people insight?
I'll be hosting.
What the hell, LJ? So that means just because you're a host, you don't mean you don't got no opinion?
I mean, I don't usually give my opinion when y'all talk. It usually be y'all. It don't be me.
We're going to go there. Okay. All right, bro. You're right.
I mean, when I ask the question, I just be trying to get y'all's opinion, not mine.
You got it. I'm just saying you can't make a question my personal statement. That's all I'm saying. Like, it was a question, bro. Like,
and Tweety out here giving out. Conspiracy, brother. I see how you and Malcolm related. Y'all just be throwing shit out there. Free coupons to everybody. They reported it as a hate crime. You gotta say it was a hate crime.
Now you go throwing shit out there. I didn't say that.
That's what you just said.
I already, bro. All right, go ahead, bro.
God, Tweety. All right, just so we can move on from this.
Because even though you contradicted yourself too, but we gonna go ahead and
well, tell me how I contradicted myself. We got time. Tell me how I contradicted myself.
Because when you were just talking about it was reported as a hate crime, and then in your explanation you said it could be reported as a hate crime.
No, I did not. I did not say no. What I said was, it would make sense to report that as a potential, like get law enforcement involved as a potential hate crime because of everything going on. I did not say it was a hate crime. I said it makes sense if you go in that stall with your only black driver and see a rope fastened as a noose to say, shit, so we call the police? That makes sense to me. It does.
Alright.
That's what I'm saying. And to me, like I said again, I could be interpreting your question wrong. To me, your question was saying people said that this should the person be fired because they reported this as a hate crime. And I could have been, like I said, I could have been interpreting your question wrong. I could have been reading it wrong. And that's on me if I read it wrong. Because and my understanding of the situation was they saw it, they thought it might be a potential hate crime, so they called the police. And it just like somebody, like I had this dude post that I know, oh, they see the media jumped all over it and they said it was a hate crime and it wasn't a hate crime. Like, Greg, you the lawyer. When it's a potential that a crime has been committed, you report it to the police, they investigate it. If it's a crime, then in theory, you prosecute it. If it's not a crime, then you say it's not a crime. Like, I don't understand like why that's a problem for a guy to say with everything going on in the world, a noose this looks like a noose to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's report it. They investigated. Hey, it's not a hate crime. Okay, it's not a hate crime.
I don't know. Like I was going to make the analogy of say like it's a far left analogy, but you got the situation where the woman she's calling the police on a bird watcher dude, and she's making a false call. And now everybody's mad and saying, oh, she's false reporting. Nothing actually happened. She should be punished. And actually, we got, different politicians and communities thinking about actually penalizing people who are falsely reporting crimes. So maybe somebody from NASCAR, it clearly is going to be somebody that's a NASCAR fanatic that's going to say, oh, man, he made a big fuss about nothing and brought all this trouble upon, the sport, and all this bad publicity. Get rid of this guy. You know what I'm saying? But when and totally, I don't have that outlook. I think the guy did the right thing, like I said, because of the scenario I gave. If Bubba sees that, it's a way, way different problem because you thought it was news, I thought it was news. Stevie Wonder seen it and he thought it was news. You know what I'm saying? Like this is crazy, but I wouldn't take it that far. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody even knows who this guy is. This guy clearly he works on the pit crew. He's not seeking publicity. You know what I'm saying? Just doing his job, trying to protect the guy he works for. So
Jim Crow Wiley.
I say don't call me that no more, bro. My my personal opinion is nah, bro. I'm like Greg. I don't think the man should be fired. Like I said, the reason why I posed the question in the first place is because I saw two videos. One of them I got, honestly, LJ, from watching the light skinned dude, the old policeman dude, the ex-policeman. It was a link from his video to another dude that was talking about the situation.
I don't know what light skinned dude.
Well, I can't remember the dude's name. Greg knows who the hell I'm talking. Greg knows what I'm talking.
Dude, that dude, man. That dude might as well be a Fox News affiliate, man. He's a police officer to be having them all crazy videos.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? I don't even watch Fox News. I know he was on that.
I saw a video link off of one of his videos, and it was the dude that was speaking on that video was really calling for the dude that's in the pit crew, calling for his job, talking about like pretty much was saying he brought on unnecessary media and unnecessary attention to NASCAR, and it was a black dude, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, but why should he be fired? I guess that's what I'm thinking while I'm watching the video. Like, you still haven't given me a reason why the man should be fired. And then you seen some people in his comments was calling Bubba Wallace Jussie Smollett. And then if it said we can go back into our group, I was like, nah, I don't believe that this is a Jussie Smollett situation. For one, because he ain't even the one who reported. And for two, it's actually a rope hanger from the garage. Like, I hadn't seen it, like LJ hadn't posted the picture yet in the group, so I hadn't seen it. But yeah, it was there. Like, whatever they was reporting was there, and I don't think the man should be fired personally. Like, it's ridiculous to even call for the man's job. But nah, that's why I posed the question, because I seen his video, then I seen another black dude. I guess he called himself a NASCAR fan, and he was really on Bubba Wallace's head. Like, he was really coming for Bubba Wallace. That's why I posed that question.
I think NASCAR just as an organization.
You
This
having
is something
problems.
that they had to try to get out in front of and had to deal with. But they didn't necessarily, I think if they were being honest about it and posed the question, they didn't necessarily want to have to deal with this, right? Because they let their Confederate flag stuff go on for a very long time, and it's just not their MO to try to step into that lane. Now, conversely, differently, the NBA is, right? And so you got them coming out now talking about letting players wear social, messages on their jerseys. Like they're an organization or a league that looks to confront those type of issues, or at least has been here recently since Silver's been commissioner. I'll give them that. All right. So what y'all think about that? What y'all think about the social stances being portrayed on the jerseys and the NBA and the NBA PA kind of coming to an agreement on that? What y'all think about that?
Go ahead, LJ.
I'm not rolling. I don't like it. I'm not rolling. I don't see the point, man.
Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it?
I don't see the point in it. I mean, like, well, I guess I haven't completely read what the limitations are going to be on what you can and what you cannot say. I'm assuming maybe names or like, Black Lives Matter or something like that. I don't know.
I was looking at it, and I think initially I had your viewpoint on it, right? Because you open the book, when you open the door, you know what I'm saying? You can't shut it, so you start letting people say one thing, then why can't they say something else? You know what I'm saying? A different cause on their jersey, right? Sport leagues, regardless of what it is, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, to a certain degree, they don't like individualism. They like the focus to be on the league and on the teams, not necessarily on the players. And so when you start allowing different players putting different messages on their jerseys, you opening up a Pandora's box that I don't think you necessarily might be ready for. But when I look at what they're proposing, it's a joint decision, like I said, between the league and the Players Association. I think they're probably just going to put like BLM or just Black Lives Matter on the jersey, and that's it. Probably like just a one-time deal, commemorative type of situation. And I get it, because the big elephant in the room is players have been balking about coming back. They feel like the cause will be lost, which we've already gone into. I disagree. I think people can walk and shoot gun at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like you can still play and still fight the fight, but I think to appease that faction of the players and to kind of put forth maybe some kind of unified front, and like I say, in keeping with how they've been. Silver has been the commissioner. Get it?
Here's my question here's my question to both of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem that I have with it, why I disagree with it. Where do you draw the line? And I know, Greg, you was kind of talking about different messages or whatnot, BLM, right? But everybody is thinking, well, I shouldn't say everybody is thinking, but I think off the rip, the initial thought would be, okay, we talking about like Black Lives Matter and, some of the blacks who have died at the hands of the police, which a lot of people, regardless of race, have thought that these people have died unjustly at the hands of the police.
Right.
But what if I'm a player who doesn't support that? What if my cause is I believe that all lives matter? Or what if my cause is I believe that you should be able to fly the Confederate flag peacefully? Right. You know what I'm saying? What if my cause does not align with the message that 90% or a large percentage, or maybe even just the higher profile players want to support, and it's the opposite of that? Do I get that right? Or the NBA gonna say, well, we don't support that, so we're not gonna let you do that? Like, why do you get to say it and I don't?
Yeah, let me address that. So again, this is a joint decision between the NBA and the NBA Players Association. Now I imagine, I don't know all the ins and outs. I imagine a vote took place first on the NBA PA side to say, okay, this is what we're going to propose to the league, and this is what we want to do, and it's a I'm at just majority. And it's a lot of stuff that goes on in the NBA, from codes and rules and regulations with jerseys and stuff like that a player might not necessarily agree with, and you just gotta go with it. You're part of the league. You're an employee.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
So
but that's what I mean. That's different. That is,
I think because you got a collective decision being made. This is not the NBA. The players, this is what you're going to do. This is
like
both.
I disagree
a little bit when you say like you said, it is an agreement between the NBA and also the players, and I think that's where they come in. Like, if I'm a player that has a different message, I'm part of that playership too. Like, how come I can't say my message, whereas the person who is, like you say, I guess you could say, with the masses at the moment, that agrees with the Black Lives Matter movement, that agrees with the, you can put that on, but let's say not even in this situation, let's say down the line, it's another, not even racial controversy, just another controversy in general that I want to speak on, but it's against what the popular opinion is. I'm still a part of the players that made that agreement. Can I still wear my statement on the back of my jersey?
I totally get what y'all saying, and like I said, that's where my mind went initially. And I'm just even thinking it could be for different issues. Like I said, it could be back to blue, it could be pride, it could be whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you might feel slighted in that you can't put your message forward, right? Because they just only want to do Black Lives Matter. I get that. But my thing is, I think if this were, because I'm a lawyer, we think about disputes, and a lot of times they end up in the courtroom, right? I don't think it would be necessarily a player against the NBA. I think it might be a player against his own union, because they just.
I mean, that may be the case. I mean, I don't disagree that it could be a player, but that's why I'm saying like, it's. I don't agree with it, because I know that, I don't want to say I know that, because I feel like the NBA, it seems to generally, they seem to be a little bit closer. One, because it's probably the smallest of the main of the the NFL, the NBA, and the MLB. The NBA they have fewer players. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't have like this huge minor league system and guys going up and down and 25-man rosters and stuff like that. So there's fewer of them, and they may be a little bit closer, and so maybe their opinions align a little bit more than maybe the other professional leagues. But again, I just don't agree with it.
I think it'd be hard served to find at least one guy on every team that disagrees with the message and doesn't want to wear it.
But
I said, I don't agree, because I mean, some of it is me personally. I just think some things, like when it comes to like, I think we were talking about this last week, where you got to keep politics and all that stuff out of the locker room, right? And I think at this point, when you start doing this, you start bringing politics and all of that into the locker room. And again, where do you draw the line at? Like, where do you draw the line at and saying, like, because, like, how is it that, go ahead.
We always call this politics, but I always wonder, is this really a political issue?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you talking about one issue, right?
Like, it's a civil rights issue, but human rights issue.
Is it a human rights issue? It's not a human rights issue. And the reason I say it's not a human rights issue was because, like, if you start going into people being unjustly killed by police officers, they're not talking about all people. It's just Black people. So it's not a human rights issue. They're talking a lot of this stuff that we talk about that the public tends to talk about when it comes to certain things they're not talking about the human rights. They're talking about Black rights. So it is a political issue to a certain extent, or it is a cultural, or however you want to describe it. It's
because oftentimes, even with the George Floyd situation, one would argue that man was treated less than human. You know what I'm saying? He's not treated the same as somebody else, that might be a similarly situated of a different race. And then also too, yeah, we're talking about black people.
Oh, my boy froze again, huh?
Talking about black people being suffered. It happens. I think a lot more likely to happen against a black person than it is somebody of another race, particularly a white person. So, I mean, that's my belief system.
I'm just
be
saying.
it
I mean,
right.
I don't agree with you. I mean, I'm not. I'm just saying. Where do you draw the line? And well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, where do you draw the line when to the point to where is not, you're not showing preferential treatment for one race over the other? That's what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying
Well, the
that
thing
putting Black
is,
Lives
I don't
Matter.
think
Yeah,
here's the thing. As far as preferential treatment, I think that it's my opinion. I don't see how somebody could disagree. Black folks have been, treated unfairly in the United States for a very long period of time, and
right.
so to treat them in a preferential manner in this aspect more so is an attempt to level the playing field. I don't think
Being
that
leveling the playing field
highlighting.
by
I don't
giving
think,
somebody preferential treatment.
so what?
There's no leveling the playing field. But again, we still talking about you did. But what happens when somebody wants to do something that's pro-white? You can't turn
I
around and
get,
say, "Well, you
I
can't
get
do
what
that."
you're saying, but we're talking about a 85
It don't matter how many.
90%.
That is not relevant. It doesn't matter what the percentage
So,
of
so, so,
blacks in the NBA is. My
so
point
let me.
is, what do you are you is my point is, where do you draw the line? How do you keep
I
from
think,
discriminating?
I think how you prevent from doing that is basically if you have a situation where somebody wants to highlight a particular issue that does not necessarily touch the majority of the players. Like I don't give me a scenario.
But
Where,
that is racism in itself, right? That is racism in itself, saying that because the people who you are in this group does not represent, you can't talk about it. I mean, that's like saying if a president.
That's not to say you can't talk about it. You definitely can talk about it, but to be able to sanction it in a way to use the league or you know what I'm saying in their the field, the logo, whatever. I would think that it would have to be an issue that touches the majority of the players. You know what I'm
Why? But
saying? There's
that's
something
racism.
that
That is like a classic definition of racism.
I
Is it
don't think
not?
so because when we're talking about racism, we're talking about specifically with race. When we're talking about commonality of minds, we're talking about community, right? Like if your community
Oh,
is dealing
It
with a
it
particular
might be a form of
issue, you know
discrimination,
what I'm
though. To
saying?
be honest
Like,
with you,
it is definitely racism. I
it
mean, I
might
don't.
be
I
a form.
mean, what's the
I
difference
mean,
between like the
you have
Okay,
issues
to.
being
That's the reason
discussed?
why we have a majority. That's the reason why we have a majority and we have a minority. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might necessarily be in the minority, but you're right. But your ability to play basketball, your ability to say what you want about your particular issues and highlight it, is not going to be trampled upon. You're just not going to be given extra boost of just being able to use the league's platform and what they're doing in
but see, but
uniformity. You know what I'm saying?
I think
But
Go ahead, Terry.
therein lies a discrimination problem right there. I mean, because you're now telling me because I can't get 51% to agree with me that I can't put this on the back of my jersey now? Like,
Or basically, you saying because I'm not black, I can't put it on the back of my jersey.
right.
No, you can't put it on the back of your jersey, but you more,
You want
more
to
than that liberty
about race.
in your post game press conference. You can go on and on
Now,
about
but see, that's the thing. Everybody can do that at a post-game press conference. What you're telling me is I'm only allowed to do that there, but I can't put it on the back of my jersey.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the why can I not? If, for example, if I support something, not me
I think
specifically.
I think I think I would be more. It would be a better example if y'all can give me an example of somebody that is in direct.
It don't. But what I'm saying, I'm saying don't be a prisoner of the
on
moment.
the jersey.
I might can't give you a.
So you have to have a.
Well, let's take
you know what?
Enes Kanter for example.
Black Lives Matter. I don't agree with Black Lives Matter at all. I don't support it in any kind of way or fashion, and I don't want that, whatever on my jersey. I want to put Blue Lives Matter. For whatever, I don't know. I can't see that, especially not in the NBA.
That's what I'm saying. You can't see it. But what I'm saying is, when you're making policy, you can't just like make policy in a vacuum and say, well, what is everybody gonna say? You have to make policy and think of and go through some potential what ifs. You can't just make policy and say, hey, the best case scenario is that only the black players want to say something, and only they want to put a message that's pro-black, and that's the majority of our constituents or the majority of our employees, for lack of a better term, are going to agree with that.
I think the best way to end up, I guess
we want to be clear. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, only way that I can possibly see that issue even getting halfway resolved is if before before they decide what messages the team actually votes on, what message, and everybody had the same message on the back of the team, and don't nobody have it. That's the only way I can see that. Like if they leave it up to a team deal, because if it's the individual, my thing is
that's the way. That said, I'm gonna cut you off to it, but that's the way I interpreted it based upon a news article that I read. I think it's going to be a blanket one statement. I don't think it's going to be like different things, different names. I think it's just going to be one uniform message. Like I said, either BLM or Black Lives Matter or something like that every player is going to have on. I don't think it's going to be individualized, because that makes it really tricky. You know what I'm saying? That makes it very, very nuanced. But go ahead. I'll cut you off.
Even with that, like, what if I, as a player, if the team votes on, that's a sticky, because like me, for example, like the thought that Black Lives Matter, I support, but I don't hashtag Black Lives Matter. I don't do any of that, because Black Lives Matter is an organization,
right,
that has some views that I don't really agree with everything they say.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but here's the thing. I see the potential for dispute, just like you guys do. Yeah. Like I said, I've seen it from the very outset. But I think that this is just something that collectively they came together, and the possibility for a dispute in this particular situation is very minuscule, and that's why they're gonna go forward and do it. I get why they're doing it. They're doing it, like I said, to appease or to satisfy that other faction of the players that were griping about, hey, let's not lose the opportunity to use this platform in a big way to highlight these issues. And the league is acquiescing, like I said, because that's what Silver has been doing. You know, unlike hate it or love it, they doing a lot better than other leagues when it comes to having their things together, as far as trying to progress and go forward with the functioning of their league, right? So they right now they got a lot of peace going on. Who knows when money, comes into play and TV deals, that stuff is down the line. But for right now, they're in harmony, and I don't see it being no issue, man. I don't see no player come forward and say, man, I don't want to wear that on my jersey. At least not being vocal about it. You know what I'm saying?
I think the Players Association actually gonna have. I think the Players Association gonna actually have. I ain't gonna say final say so, but really big say so over what can go on the back of these jerseys. When it comes down.
So what if Enes Kanter gonna put something negative about Turkey on there?
See, and that you're right about that, LJ. But I said, and I guess that at that point, then it will probably come to
Enes Kanter won't put something negative about what?
About Turkey. Enes Kanter got beef for Turkey.
Yeah, he do. Big time.
Oh, yeah, I'm very familiar with that situation. And that caused the NBA some problems. You know what I'm saying? Because now that's something that you know, and I'm not from Turkey. I know it's a lot of influx of
Oh,
The boy don't got caught stargazing. Look at him froze.
He was kind of commenting on and taking out in one position. That might be looked at something to me that might be political. It's
but Black
definitely
Lives
not.
Matter is political.
Like I said,
It's
I
all
feel like
it's
the human rights issue. I don't think it's a political.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, because you're black, you're saying Black Lives Matter is a human rights issue. Enes Kanter would say that his issues with the things that happen in Turkey are human rights
It's like
issues.
the Turkish league. It's like the Turkish league. This is not
You
the
say
Turkish
what?
league. This is the NBA.
It don't matter.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
the league don't
This ain't the
matter.
NBA. Ain't no black man. It's not a. The NBA is not a black league. It's an NBA, which is made up of black players. But that's what I'm saying. But that goes back to my whole point of it is discriminatory in nature.
Yeah.
If you're saying that if it ain't got nothing to do with black people, we not putting it on the back of these jerseys. It said, because the NBA thing says social causes. It says social causes. Now you're not gonna support you. Enes Kanter can't be supported because he's not black.
You said what now?
I said the NBA, the thing that the NBA when the article that talk about it said that hold on, I'm about to quote it real quick. Go ahead on, y'all keep talking. I'm about to quote it real quick. The personalized, this is what it says. The personalized statements on jerseys are part of a long list of social justice messages the players plan to make through the remainder of the season. The NBA and the NBA Players Association announced on Wednesday an agreement to continue to discuss fighting systematic racism and make one of the main focuses of the restart. Personalized jerseys could say things such as Black Lives Matter or I Can't Breathe.
That makes it different.
And then hold on. This is Chris Paul's statement. We're just trying to continue to shed light on the different social justice issues. The guys we're just trying to continue to shed light on the different social justice issues that guys around our league continue to talk about day in and day out.
That sounds like a black league to me, man.
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't sound like a black league, but what I'm saying is Enes Kanter would argue that the things that he has an issue with are just as much social issues as the things that are affecting black people in America. He's an NBA player just as well as Kyrie Irving, A.B. Bradley, so on and so forth.
No doubt, I understand that, but again, you know, time and place, man. He's
time and place.
This is
NBA. How
He an NBA player. And for the record, this is one of the problems that I have.
Let me take away the time. More so the place, the setting. This is the NBA. This is not Turkey. This is this is a North American league.
What does that matter?
It is.
It don't matter. You have players that are not from America. That would be just like saying, that would be just like people in NASCAR saying, well, this is a predominantly white sport. Why should we care about what happens to black people?
You talking about you talking about the Confederate flag, though?
I'm just saying, period. I'm just saying, period. Is who?
Well, what are we talking about from NASCAR? You talking about supporting?
My point is, you saying that like it's an American sport, so it should only be catered to what's going on in America. I'm saying, what if NASCAR fans or people in NASCAR are saying like 99% of our drivers are white? Why the hell should we be caring about what's happening to black people? What if they said that? Then black people would be like, oh no, you should care. There's no difference.
Right.
What's the difference?
I think now when we say, well, so let me, because look again, I don't know all the ins and outs with Bubba Wallace and the whole NASCAR thing, right? So let's retract that. So Bubba first came out, right, and said that he wasn't with the Confederate flag. They need to take it down and and then two, he had the bar, right? And so what was their official response to that? Did they have something to say to that as far as the organization?
Say the
Like what
what?
did they say at that point?
About the
So
Confederate flags.
yeah, when Bubba came out initially,
They banned
he did
Confederate
They banned it.
flags.
They banned the
They banned
Confederate
it.
flag.
Confederate flags.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
but
all
my
right.
point
And
was
so when
my
it
point
comes
was
to the Confederate flag, right? I think the consensus, because most of America, which I mean, I know you got your NASCAR fans, but again, NASCAR is thinking about its national audience.
they
Not
don't. But
everybody, not everybody just in Talladega, Alabama.
I will
is-
tell you that the
Hold up.
NASCAR
But
national audience is not black people.
At all. At
It
all.
is not
And
black
and
people.
and
don't
to kind
matter.
of argue LJ's point a
Matter.
little bit more,
Now,
the
let me say this. What it sounds like y'all jumping to, it sounds like y'all trying to paint the brush and say white folks are cool with the Confederate flag.
I'm not saying
no,
that.
no. I don't think either one of
And I
our points have to do with a
and
specific.
I think most white folks, especially nowadays, we're talking about maybe from the ages of 60 and younger, are not cool with the Confederate flag.
But
So
I don't think they matter.
But that's not what I'm arguing. I'm Tweety. Go ahead. I'm gonna let Tweety handle this.
That's NASCAR's reaction to what Bubba Wallace said. That's something that they're looking at. The majority of their fans, the majority of their sponsorships, the majority of their relationships financially are not in agreement with that. You know what I'm saying? It's
I
antiquated.
don't think that
I
matters.
disagree because if they weren't in agreement with it,
They wouldn't have
NASCAR
been.
could have easily have done this 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
The only reason why they got rid of it is because somebody complained about it and the temperature of the country right now. If the temperature of the country wasn't as hot as it is right now on race, I think NASCAR would have found a way to sweep that request right under the rug, and you'd still see Confederate flags flying at NASCAR race events. Cause I'm like LJ, I don't think the league cared one way or another. That was their fans' expression. If they fans want to fly Confederate flag, go ahead. I just don't think NASCAR really gave two looks at it.
They did come out and try to ban it a few years ago, but they never enforced it. They just didn't enforce it. They said it, they didn't enforce it.
That's kind of like saying the policeman got charged, indicted, but not sentenced. Like he got indicted, but not we gonna address it, but we not gonna really address it. Like you say, we gonna make up the rules, but we not gonna.
I think that's two different things, but
maybe. But what I'm saying is you I guess what I'm saying is they brought it to light, but didn't address the problem. I guess that's what I'm saying. Now, as far as what Greg is talking about, how in his cancer platform is just a North American platform. First of all, I disagree with that. The NBA is very much a world sport. Like they don't just have fans in USA. Matter of fact, when the China thing broke out, it was a big deal about the NBA playing basketball in China. Like the NBA is an international game, and just the fact that you were talking about
China too.
Huh?
I said even when the Rockets GM made the comment about China too, that was a big deal.
I think the NBA cares about their international audience, but just take that out of it. It's just not. I guess you could say I don't even think it would be legal to tell somebody, yeah, you can do it because it's based on this organization, this happening over here, but you're gonna tell him that's part of this same players association that because your issue is in Turkey, we ain't worried about it because it's not a issue. I think social issue, like LJ said, is a social issue, no matter where that social issue is taking place. And I can't discriminate on national social issues because I have players in my league that are not from this nation. So you mean to tell me that? So you mean to tell me that their personal issues don't matter because they're not in their country?
No. I don't think the NBA nor the NBAPA is coming forth and telling us, we don't care about your particular issue that you got going on in your home country of Turkey. It's just a matter of relevance when it comes to the majority of the players.
When if we talking about what the
Greg, do
NBA said,
but
if
do
we talking
you saying, do you
setting that
understand?
you're in, which is.
But do you understand?
Hold on,
what,
let me finish.
okay, go
Let
ahead.
me finish.
Go ahead.
We're talking about league and or team backing and using their platform, putting resources, putting dollars toward putting a particular unified message forward. They just not gonna do that for something going on in Turkey with the Turkey coup. It just did not affect that many players but him. He was the only one. Unless there was
Okay.
another player that was speaking
Okay.
about it, which
I'm not even going to dispute.
Play professionally in Turkey before they come to the NBA. Maybe they might have some crossover care about Turkey.
I'm not going to dispute none of that. I'm not going to dispute none of that. I won't even dispute. I'm not even going to go against any of that. But what I am going to say is, if take exactly what you just said, and take that to the United States, and black people have a problem with that. Because what you're saying is because hold on. The constituency of the NBA, most of their players are black. It's okay for them to put their dollar. It's okay for them to say, well, we ain't got but a small percentage of Turkey players. Oh, that's one. So, whatever. Right? Now, if you take that, paint that with the majority of people in the United States are white, the majority of people in Congress, they're white. And when they say, well, it ain't but a small percentage of people in the U.S. that's black, so let's go and sweep that out, whatever. We don't care. Most of them are white. Most of our constituents are white, so let's focus on that. But black people have a problem with that. So what's the difference? I'm just curious. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, the biggest difference to me is when we're looking at, the whole black-white thing from the U.S. as a whole. White America really owes a lot to Black America. You know what I'm saying?
I can't hear you, Greg.
Really build the country. You know what I'm saying? They got a real leg up, and I'm not. And this is nothing personally against white folks, individually or collectively. It's just the truth. There's certain privileges and benefits.
Don't go into hold on. But hold on. According to your argument, it don't matter. It matters about who is most of your constituency. But you ain't nothing about owing nobody. You just said, well, most of the players in the NBA are black, so why should they care? I'm asking you, if you stick with that mindset, if most of the constituents of people that represent this country, mayors, governors, presidents, if most of their constituents are white, why should they care about other folks' issues?
Because this particular issue that we're talking about with the NBA affects black players. You know what I'm saying? This is something that affects black players.
Well, I
get that. But I'm saying, why when white people do it inside of the United States, do you have a problem with it then?
Is this something that white folks are negatively affected by, that's disproportionately happening to them? Like, what issue are you talking about?
No, I'm saying generally. I'm saying if you saying the NBA Players Association, hold on.
What general issue is right?
Hold on, let me finish. You're saying the NBA it's okay for the NBA and their Players Association to not care about or to not really worry about what Enes Kanter cares about as far as what's going on in his country. What matters to him?
I didn't say they didn't care. You putting words in my mouth. What I'm saying is, they do not have it as a relevant enough issue to allocate resources.
Okay. I got it. Relevant enough issue because because the majority of their players are black, right?
Right.
Okay, right. So that's my point. If you take, hold on, let me finish. If you take,
conversely, we can say most of the players are not Turkish.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, conversing
Does that
either
sound
way. Well, then why then would you, if you take a snapshot of the U.S., right? The overwhelming majority of the population in America are white, right?
Right.
Then why then do you have a problem if the people who are in power make policy, do things, and only focus on what the majority of their constituents are and what they care about? Why do you have a problem? Like, if you're telling me that the NBA should be focusing on black issues because most of their constituents, most of their employees, most of their constituents are black, why do you have a problem with white people doing it?
No, I just don't want to continue to belabor this because clearly we see things differently. My thing is you can't look at it in that same lens because you got a whole bunch of involuntary servitude that came before that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a equal playing field when we're talking about the, you know,
Right, it's not an equal playing field. But hold on, okay, I'm gonna get that point.
Not only because of population wise, right? But because of that. But hold on. Like I said, because I don't want to, because I know we got limited time. I don't want to belabor it. So let me get your opinion on this, right? Because the NBA, that's not the only thing they're doing with the whole Black Lives Matters or whatever they could put in their jerseys. They're doing other things. They've also agreed to use black vendors, right? They're going to put forth the effort to try to start using black vendors when they're doing their contracts around the league going forward, too, and then also to allocate money toward black resources. So let me say this: if you have a problem with that, do you have them with a problem saying they're gonna try to use black vendors? You have issue with that too?
I don't have a problem with. I have a problem with my whole thing with the whole social justice thing was not that I have a problem because if they have a clear policy that allows.
They don't use a Turkish vendor. They don't use a Turkish vendor.
I didn't say that. I didn't say no. I wasn't saying that they had to use certain vendors or anything like that. My whole point was.
No, my thing
hold on, let me finish. If you're going to have this,
certain vendors purposely, they're purposely going to seek out and try to use black vendors, not Turkish vendors. So are you advocating for Turkish vendors?
I'm not. I didn't advocate for Enes Kanter. I used him as an example. My point was, if you're going to make a policy, right, then don't tell. Then your policy. Then what are you going to do when the policy goes outside of Black Lives Matter? That's my point.
Yeah.
Then you have an issue because Enes Kanter has definitely been on the front lines of having issues with the Turkish government because when the whole thing about him being able to play when they in Canada because of passport and stuff like that, right? Can he do that? Or otherwise, are you going to discriminate and say, listen, we only care about black people. We don't care about you because we got mostly black people.
Just so we not dancing in the ring and in circles. I think we just agree to disagree. Like I said, from the very outset, I seen exactly what you're talking about, but I just think that it's a dispute that really will not be raised. There's potential for it.
May not be.
I don't see it coming up.
Just go ahead on and say you're wrong and we'd be good. Tweety saying got to bounce at 4. I think we should just wrap it up. It was a little bit of a different kind of show this week. So
hey, enjoy myself though, man. Really enjoy myself.
After getting pedicures and shit.
I wouldn't mind getting a pedicure, no cap, but I ain't trying to get that corona foot virus. Yeah, I know y'all ain't heard about that. And listen, this don't have nothing. It ain't got nothing to do with race or nothing like that. But I don't really want to go nowhere right now with nobody touching me unless it's a doctor.
Right.
I ain't trying to go nowhere. I don't want. You know what I'm saying? We ain't shaking hands. We ain't doing nothing. If we got to touch each other, I'm good on that. I might go hoop. I ain't gonna lie. I might, my jumper's still there. Never get it twisted.
There you go.
The ability to get dirty will always be there.
You hooping with your high school kid?
I have before. Listen, man, hold up. I'm gonna tell you the last story that we'll get out of here. I literally, I messed up my cab, bro. On the layup.
Yeah. Oh,
on the layup. Oh, wow. Wide
Hey,
open layup.
See?
Hey,
You-
Tweety,
huh? What'd you say? My boy, you stuck in cement.
Hey,
Okay, I
Tweety,
got
up and
it.
down. They still got the basketball rims up like at the parks and stuff like that. They
Well,
still like in Dallas,
I know at one
parks.
point in time,
I ain't.
I know at one point, I know at least,
Hey, Tweety.
I know at least at Keys Park, they got them covered. Huh?
Man,
Like I said, at Keys
Houston,
Park, they got them covered up.
Bruh,
As far as I know.
and I said,
I can't speak for all the other parks, but I know a lot of public parks got their basketball goals covered up.
All right, man, I think it's time for us to get up out of here.
Yeah,
I
great.
hope y'all enjoyed the new
Yes.
format.
saying so.
Trying something
When y'all was
different.
having that conversation and talking about high school basketball.
Greg keep freezing, man.
We're gonna have to wait for Greg for next week.
In Houston, bro.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take up a collection for his internet.
Oh man, my bad.
We gotta take up a collection for his internet. But I hope y'all enjoyed the new format. I guess this will be out probably like Monday or something. I don't know. I really don't care. Whenever it come out, it don't make no difference to me. The Sports Crew. Maybe we change the name. I don't know. Y'all keep it 100. Enjoy your Sundays. Enjoy your Monday, first day of the week. It's gonna be a great one.
Man, holla at y'all.
Later.